Hi everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to Pause and Effect on Air. I'm your host CJ. I am going to attempt to brute force my way through game dev tonight, so we will see what happens. Let us get some music started. Starting off with Ring of Pride from Street Fighter V. I admit I heavily curated this for a bit, so I am just gonna play this on repeat for a while. It is one of my favorite songs to just do work to. So to those of you who came into the stream early or are just now arriving, so Jennifer McBean on Twitch, then Some Random Fool, and Essie Jolly on YouTube, thank you all for being here early / right as soon as I got started. I appreciate you being here. Okay, so it's been a couple weeks since I've done this. One of the last things I did was fix my spawn points for cars spawning in. I've not been able to fix my animations, but the cars are indeed coming in. Like, and I can see they're coming in because it's playing feedback on the bottom left between honk honk and vroom. I'm not gonna finish that statement, but yeah, this works as normal. And I'm pretty sure this is the last thing I did. So the next thing on this tutorial for the Frogger project for like actually learning is delta time. So I feel like I said when I shared the link to the stream everywhere that like after the exasperation of the past couple weeks like really caught up to me today. So like I admit I'm not feeling it, but I'm willing to try. So yeah, we're just going to see how far I can get and how much I understand. And then maybe after like 2 hours, if I'm not feeling it anymore by then I can try playing a game. We'll see what happens, but let's go.
Before we continue, there's one important topic that we do have to cover that does get a bit more technical.
Okay.
Frame rates and delta time.
Oh.
So far, we did not care about the frame rate at all. The game simply worked. That's totally fine. However, in some instances, this can be an issue.
It's using the Todd Howard logic of it just works. God, Todd Howard, I have words, but I want to focus.
This because the frame rate is affecting the movement of objects. Not always, but in some circumstances, and that we have to talk about. And while we are here, inside of Godot for the car, when we are calling process, we are getting delta. Same for the player, inside of physics process, there we also have a delta. And so far, I just didn't talk about it, but it's a really important parameter. But let's go through it step by step. Now, the main issue is that a frame rate determined movement can be inconsistent. Here's a table with the same movement, but different frame rates. The actual speed is the first column, where we always want to move at 10 pixels per frame. Or in other words, inside of our game, for the car for example, we are moving the car by a certain direction multiplied with a speed.
Right.
In our case, for example, this would be a speed of 2 on the horizontal axis. This change in position is applied in every single frame. So effectively, we are moving at pixels per frame. Besides that, we have the amount of frames per second. This number is going to vary on the computer. If you have a really slow one, you might only get 10 frames per second. If you have a really good computer, you might get 500 or more frames per second. This also depends on what happens inside of the game. If you have a lot of objects, the game is going to be more difficult to run. Generally, you want to have 30 or more frames, that way your game is going to feel smooth. But for this example, it doesn't really matter what the number is. What does matter is the final column, where we get the pixel movement per second. This is simply the multiplication of these two numbers. For example, if we are moving at 10 pixels per frame and we have 10 frames per second, we are moving at 100 pixels per second, which on its own would be totally fine. But the issue is, depending on different frame rates, we're getting a different speed because we are applying a change in position multiple times per second. And this number varies. If we apply the change in position 10 times a second or 500 times a second, it's obviously going to be different. Which for our game is going to be a problem because, well, you can see it here. If our pixel movement is 100 pixels per second or 5000 pixels per second, the game is going to feel significantly different. Or in other words, the movement speed of your game will change depending on the computer. And this is really, really not good. Just imagine any game where the movement speed could either be 100 or 5000. No game would work like that. And as a consequence...
I see the problem. Like, it reminds me of something I saw with, like, the PC version of Resident Evil Village, where, like, specifically in the Resident Evil Village DLC, where attempting to play through a certain chase section within the DLC, if you uncap your frame rate, then the thing chasing you would permanently be able to catch up to you before you get to the end. Because even though you're moving, like, even though you're both moving at a fairly consistent speed, like, because the frame rate is uncapped, it allows them to catch up to you a lot faster. But if you limit your frame rate to, I think it was either 60 FPS or 120 FPS, if you do that, then you will actually be able to outrun the chase sequence and succeed it. Which, I always thought that was a weird thing, but I mean, I also totally get it. Frame rates are weird, man.
We have to account for it, which we are doing via delta time. All that this concept describes is the difference between the current frame and the previous frame. Or in other words, it tells you how long it took your computer to render the current frame. Doesn't sound that important, but it's actually super useful. Because imagine you have a game that runs at 30 frames per second. Then delta time is simply 1 divided by 30 or 33 milliseconds. If you have different frame rates, then you get different numbers, obviously. The specific number here doesn't actually matter. What matters is that the higher the frame rate becomes, the smaller delta time will be. Which is incredibly useful, because let's do the table again with delta time. The first 3 columns are what you have seen before. The only addition now is that we have delta time.
Oh my god, it's
mathematics. For example, if our frames per second are 10, then delta time is 1 divided by 10, or 0.1. If our frame rate is 30, then delta time is going to be 1 over 30, or 33 milliseconds. All of that is useful because delta time and the frames per second effectively cancel each other out. Imagine this formula here written in a slightly different way, where we have 10 pixels per frame from here, multiplied with the frame rate. In this case, that's 30 frames per second, this number. And this we are multiplying with delta time. This number here, 1 divided by 30, or 1 over 30. The end result has to be 10, for the simple reason that 30 and 1 divided by 30 are simply going to be 1. The only thing that's left is the 10 that we are getting at the end. And this works with all of these numbers. So if we have 60,
I'm not questioning it,
we
actually.
would have 60 multiplied with 1 over 60, 500 multiplied with 1 over 500, and so on. Frames per second and delta time cancel each other out. The only thing left are the pixels per frame. And that is really all we want. That way, it doesn't matter what the frame rate is, you're always getting constant movement. And this you should use whenever you change the position or rotation of any node. The one place where you don't have to use it is with physics bodies, because for those, Godot automatically applies delta time. And finally, let's do all of this in Godot. That way all of this can also be a lot more practical. We want to work inside of the car, where at the moment we are updating the position by getting the direction and multiplying it with the speed,
Yep.
which on its own works totally fine. If I run the game, the cars are going to move. Let me find one. There we go. We have movement. However, this movement depends on the frame rate. Or in other words, if I go to project settings, and then toggle advanced settings. Then under run, we have a maximum frame rate, which right now is set to 0, which means we have no maximum frame rate. Godot will try to run the game as fast as possible.
Hold up. Okay, I missed something. How did he get there?
And then toggle advanced settings. Then under run, we have a maximum frame rate, which right now is set to 0, which means we have no maximum frame rate. Godot will try to run the game as fast as possible. Let's say I want to limit the frame rate to 12. That way we get at least a little bit of movement. If I now run the game,
I'm curious to see what that looks like. Oh my god. At 12 frames, this is so choppy. Like, wow. And the cars are definitely moving a lot slower. To the point that they're actually spawning on top of each other. But wait. What about 60? That seems like a decent baseline. What then? Honestly, yeah. Now, what about if I set that to 30? No. 60. $60 it is. There. Yeah, that definitely works a lot better.
it's going to feel really rough, but the important thing is the cars are moving very, very slowly.
You know what? I'm switching my song.
If we increase the number to 30,
This is
then
also
they
a good
should be
song for me
moving
to
a lot
concentrate to.
faster. And there we go.
That
Now
is
the
not what
taxis
I meant to
are
do.
Quite a bit faster. And this is a problem. The frame rate shouldn't affect the movement inside of the game. Let's set it to 0 for now. That way, Godot is trying to run the game as fast as possible. Now, to actually fix this, all you have to do is multiply this value with delta time. And then you are done. That's all you have to do. So if I run the game now, the cars are going to move quite a bit slower because delta time is a very low number. So there you can see the cars are not fast at all. Simply change the speed to a larger number, let's say 200. And now,
Yeah, let's see what that does. That kind of gives me an idea. A little bit, but an idea of one nonetheless. So a speed of 200 for the red car, and then we have there's like 3 variations of cars here. There's yellow cars, and there are green cars. I think it would be interesting if like red cars moved the slowest, yellow cars moved a tiny bit faster, and green cars were incredibly fast.
Number, let's say 200.
But we'll get there.
And now, the cars are a good bit too fast. Let's go with 100 here. And then
speeders, LOL. I mean, yeah.
At a much nicer pace. Really importantly now, if I go back to limit the frame rate to 12, the game is going to be much choppier, but the speed of the car itself is not going to change. And that's the important part. That is the point of delta time. It makes sure that you can change the position independent of the frame rate. A super important concept that you have to use whenever you're changing the position or the rotation or any of these basic properties of a sprite 2D, for example, to make sure that the frame rate doesn't affect the speed of it.
Let me check something here. Yeah.
However, if you have a physics object that you move via the velocity and move and slide, you don't have to do that. Godot applies delta time here automatically. Next up, we're going to work on the player-car collisions.
Oh yeah.
Or in other words, we have to add a signal to the car that is going to be emitted whenever there's a collision between the two. However, this has to happen inside of the game scene, because there is all of the logic for the actual game. Or in other words,
that makes sense,
we have to connect the signal once the car is spawned via GD script. Here we are back in the game, and the issue we have at the moment is that we want to check if the player overlaps with this car, and for that we can use a signal. Body entered would be best.
For the red car object. Got it. Alright, so where the hell are my signals?
The problem is, we can connect this to the car, but then we have a script inside of the car, so in here. I guess that would do something, but it wouldn't really be that helpful. All of the logic for the actual game is inside of game.gd. So in here, I want to run the script for the collisions. Fortunately, what we can do, once a car has spawned, we can connect a signal via GD script. All you need is the car that we have created. Really important, we want the car instance, not the car scene. On that thing, we can run a method called connect. Then we need the name of the signal, which in our case is called body entered. Simply type the string of it. Body underscore entered.
Body entered.
The second argument is then the function that you want to call.
Oh.
Which in my case is going to be go to title. Because that's what we later on want to do once there is a collision. Also, really important, I want to pass this function as an argument in here, but I do not want to call it, meaning there shouldn't be parentheses afterwards. We only want to have the word go to title without anything else. After that, I want to create this function. So func go to title. No need for parameters. And now, once that is the case, I want to print player car collision. And that should be it. Let's try. Inside of the game, I am getting a lot.
There. So I can try that. Function go to title, print, bonk, go to horny jail. Let's try it. Okay, it's not doing anything.
Lot of errors. You can see in the bottom, Godot is really unhappy with us. Under errors, we are getting an issue, and let's read it out. Godot has an error.
Zeus of Olympus, welcome to the stream.
Callable go to title, the one that we have just created here. And the issue is, the method expected 0 arguments, but was called with 1. Understanding these error messages is incredibly important, so let's go through it. Go to title expected 0 arguments because there's no parameter. However, because of connect and body entered, we are calling this function with 1 argument, this number here at the end. Effectively, when Godot is calling this function, it passes an argument into it, but inside of the function, we don't have a parameter. As a consequence, we're getting an error message. This happened because when you look at the signal, body entered, we are getting the body as an argument passed into it. And this is what Godot wants to do. To fix that, all you have to do is add 1 parameter, which would be the body. Although in our case, we don't really care about it. But just to demonstrate what is happening, let's print the body that we are getting. And if I now rerun the input.
Let's see. Okay, it's playing it without a collision.
Higher thing. We are getting a whole bunch of collisions actually. Let's have a look at the output. The first collision that we are getting is a static body 2D collision. Then we have another static body collision.
Oh, I happen to look back. I just see working on a big project, only dropping in to say hi. All right, well, good luck with the project, Zeus, and thanks for checking in. I will catch you later. Have fun.
Another one, and then we have the actual player collision. We are going to work on that in just a second. But for now, the important thing that you have to understand is if you want to connect a signal via GDScript, you get the node or the scene you want to connect, then you call connect with the signal name, and then the function you want to call. And always make sure that you are accounting for all of the arguments that Godot is passing into this function. And once you have that, you can connect signals via GDScript. Now, besides that, we were expecting
Hang on, I feel like I've missed a number of things here.
a whole bunch of collisions actually. Let's have a look at the output. The first collision that we are getting is a static body 2D collision. Then we have another static body collision, another one, and then we have the actual player collision. We are going to work on that in just a second. But for now, the important thing that you have to understand is if you want to connect a signal via GDScript, you
I may actually try that. Yeah, okay.
You get the node or the scene you want to connect, then you call connect with the signal name, and then the function you want to call. And always make sure that you are accounting for all of the arguments that Godot is passing into this function. And once you have that, you can connect signals via GDScript. Now, besides that, we were expecting the player body and player car collision, simply the string. However, besides that, we got a whole bunch of additional collisions. What happened here? When we are looking at body entered, body area 2D, it looks at any body. This would include these borders around the screen. Static bodies are still bodies. So whenever a car is being spawned, it will collide with this border. A car could also collide with the tree that we have created, and it could also collide with any other object that we might create, which at the moment isn't really the desired behavior. So how can we fix that? For that, we have collision layers. Effectively, every physics body has a layer and a mask. A mask is determining what physics object a node can see. And a layer determines what other physics objects can see the node. That way, for every single physics object, you can determine which objects can see each other. So with that, back in Godot, if you look at any physics object, like for example the player, in the inspector, under collision, we have layer and mask. All of these are just numbers, and this determines what layer and what mask the player is on. If you have over these numbers at the moment, you only get layer 1. But what you can do under project settings, and if you scroll down a bit, somewhere we have 2D physics. And let me disable advanced setting.
2D physics.
We don't need it anymore. In here, you can name all of the various layers. For example, we could have layer 1 being the...
Oh, wait, no. There you are.
rain. Layer 2 being the player. Layer 3 could be the cars. And layer 4 could be the walls. And by walls, I mean these walls around the screen. And to get started with the player.
Hey, Sylphie, thank you for the lurk. I appreciate it.
The player should be on layer 2, which is only for the player. So this determines what other objects can see the player. And on the flip side, for the mask, the player should be able to see the terrain. He should not be able to see itself. The player should be able to see
Killer
the cars,
Machine, thank you for the
and the
lurk. I
player
appreciate
should
it.
see the walls. Then for the tree, for collision, the tree should be on a terrain layer, and for mask, we can disable everything. Simply because the tree doesn't have to see anything else. And just to demonstrate, if I now run the game and go to the tree, we are still getting a collision, and that is working pretty well. However, once I put the tree on a different layer, let's say layer 5 that we are not using, then the player can walk right through it. There's no collision anymore.
Yep.
The only layers that the player can see.
Okay, so then what I need to do for every single one of these it's not physics interpolation, it's not process. Collision. I was getting a weird phone call. Okay, terrain, player. So, okay, where's the player at? There's the player. So, player collision. Let me check something actually. Okay, no. So then what I need... Oh, did I set the player's layer? Okay, this is right.
C are determined by the mask 1, 3, and 4. If the tree is not on any of them, the player is going to ignore it entirely. All of this you should really practice. For that, set up the layers and the mask.
Hold on. That's really weird. I got a voicemail on my phone just now from a detention facility. Like, I let it go to voicemail and they're like, oh, this is a collect call. But, like... Like, who the hell would be calling me from a jail? in a town I have never heard of. Who would be attempting to call me from that far south? I am so confused.
Masts for the cars and the walls. Really important, the cars should not see the walls or each other, but
Okay, so either way, this is the tedious part. And I think I'm going to change the song too. Okay, this is not what I thought it was. Sarks? Okay. Okay, so these are the boundary walls. I should probably not mask it for the cars. Okay, yeah, the cars are still able to come through. That's good. I should probably mask this for player only. Yep.
they should see the player. Pause the video now and see how far you get. I want to start working with the car, specifically the Area 2D node. For collision...
Oh, so I have to do that in the car itself. Okay, don't mask it for the walls. Don't mask it for the terrain, just mask it for the player. Bonk, go to horny jail. There. Yeah, that is absolutely working.
The layer should not be on terrain, it should be on cars. That way the player can see it. Next up, for the mast, the car should only be able to see the player itself and nothing else. That way a car should already not see the walls around the screen anymore. Let's try this, and now...
Hey, actually, that phone call has been, like, that I declined has been kind of bothering me for like the past 5 or so minutes, so I need to make a call of my own, not to the correctional facility that called me, but to somebody else. So if you guys don't mind, I will be back in a couple minutes. I just need to figure something out. I'll be back. Okay, everybody, I am back. So sorry about that. It turned out to be a spam call. Uh, like I kind of feared that, like, oh God, is like everything okay? Is like one of my friends like in trouble? Is my brother in trouble? So like I called my dad just to be like, "Hey, is my brother with you guys right now? Do you know where he is?" Cuz like I'm like after the day that I've had, it's probably a scam, but I can't help but be worried. So, and my dad very calmly was like, "Oh yeah, your brother's fine. He's right here next to me." I'm like, "Okay, cool." So, like at least he can't chastise me for caring. Am I right? Okay. Yeah, let's keep going. Oh wait. I did not mean to turn my headset off. All right, let's go.
We should only get a collision between the car and the player, and that looks pretty good. Finally then, for these static bodies around the screen. You could leave them on the terrain layer. It would kind of be possible, but I would rather have this organized, so they should be on walls and they should not see anything else. This I want to do for all of them, so this should be only 4.
Okay. So turn off the masking for like all of these. Bonk, go to horny jail. I should change that player has entered thing for the win condition. That would be in the script for the game. I will go, a winner is you. Let me test and see if that worked. TM. Okay. There. It played a winner as you. Alright, we're good.
Same for this one. And same for the final wall, only on layer 4. That way the player should still see them. There we go, this works. But the cars are going to ignore it entirely in 2 different ways actually. With that system, we can control a lot better what is colliding with each other. Finally, all the way at the top, we have the finish area 2D. This one should not be on any layer. In other words, no other physics node should be able to see it. However, it itself should be able to see the player. That way, if I run the game again, the player should still be getting up here, and that works.
That makes sense,
but no
actually.
other physics object can interact with it. At this point, we have covered all of the basic concepts to create a level. If you added lots more stuff to it, you would have a pretty decent basic game. And this is what we are going to do in this part. However, before we get to it, there's one important concept that I still have to cover. At the moment, the player can either be behind an object or in front of it. But this system is static. The player couldn't dynamically change the position. Back inside of Godot, the position of the player relative to the tree. These 2 objects is determined by the node tree. So at the moment, the player comes first, and then we have the tree. And as a consequence, if I move the player around, the player is always behind the tree. Inside of the game, you can see that the player right now is in the right position, behind the tree. But if we go around, now the player is, well, still behind the tree, but the player should be in front of the tree. That we have to fix. The system for that is called Y sorting. All that it does is it decides which object is going to be on top depending on their Y position. Just imagine that this line up here is Y being 0. The player position in this case is, let's say, 10 pixels, and for this player it's going to be 20 pixels, while the car is always going to be on pixel position 15. Same for this one. All that Y sorting is doing is it compares these 2 numbers. Whichever has the higher Y number is going to be drawn on top.
Okay.
That way, if the car is further down, it's going to be on top of the player. If the player is further down, it's going to be on top of the car. And that's literally it. It's a really simple concept, and you can apply it to Godot super easily. All you have to do is grab the parent node, objects in this case, and then go to ordering inside of the inspector. There we have Y sort enabled.
The entire parenting thing? I don't have that. What if I just set Y sorting enabled? No, that doesn't quite work. Do I maybe have to manually enable it for everything? This stream, I realize now, is probably going to be DMCA'd to highest fucking heaven because I just played a Persona 5 song. Worth it. And now we're playing a Persona 4 Arena song.
This should be enabled, and then all of this is going to work. So the player can be behind the tree, like so, and the player can be in front of the tree, like so. And that is feeling a lot more realistic. And by the way, it's really important for this system that the collision shapes for the player and the tree don't cover the entire height of the object. For the tree, we have a bit of space at the top and the bottom, and same for the player. We have a bit of stuff below and above the player. That way, these two can overlap a bit.
Weird.
Which makes the game feel much more three-dimensional. And well, with that, we have the basic system in place. Now we can add lots of objects. To place all of these elements, you want to organize your project so the entire thing is reasonably streamlined. Let's do some examples. We already have one object, the tree, where we have a static body 2D, a sprite, and a collision shape. We could, for example, copy this tree and then place it here and here and here. Run the game. We would have more trees. Pretty straightforward. If you wanted other objects, all you would need to do is create another static body 2D node. Let's say for this one, I want to create a box, for which I want to go to graphics, and then inside of objects, we have a couple of boxes.
I'm just gonna watch along to this.
I want to choose one of those. To add it to the scene,
you can't see it, but
I want to add a sprite 2D, and then box.png.
You can't see it, but I'm just bobbing my head back and forth to Kuma Kuma Circus.
Is going to be the texture.
I'll let this play again.
Zoom in quite a bit.
One or two more
add
times.
The collision shape 2D. For this one, we definitely want to have a rectangle that we then want to scale down quite a bit to something like this. Afterwards, save the entire thing inside of scenes, box.tscn, and then we have a box that once again we want to attach to objects.
Music is nice. Thanks,
in
Sexy
there,
Jelly.
box.tscn, and then in the origin point we have a box. And by the way, if you try to move it and you move something else, like for example right now the car start positions, you can avoid that by having the box selected inside of the scene tree and then hold Command or Alt. That way you are only moving the node that you have selected inside of the scene tree. Can sometimes be super handy. But anyway, once we have that, we have a box, and then inside of the game, we can collide with it. That being said though, for something as simple as a box, this is kind of overkill, because a box is, well, really simple. We don't need a separate scene for that. What we could also do, inside of objects, is simply create another static body 2D that we could rename to, let's say, bench. To this bench, we can add a sprite 2D right away. And for that, I want to use bench.png for the texture. Then we have a bench, and after that, we can add a collision shape 2D with a rectangular shape. that we then want to scale.
Mm.
So. And then we have another object that we can work with, and we didn't have to create another scene. Although you do want to be careful. Moving this bench around right now can be kind of annoying. There's a good chance that you accidentally only direct a collision shape or only describe 2D, which would, well, cause a ton of problems. So this I don't want to do. To avoid that, you want to click on this symbol. If you activate it, you're getting this symbol next to the node. That means you can only move...
Hold on, what did he click? Ungroup selected. Oh, wait. Well then, you know what? Let me try making or setting up a couple different things in this scene. Add child node, node 2D. Let's go boxes. So add child. No, wait. This is a static body that I want. Add child node sprite 2D. Let's move this, squash and stretch it down like here-ish or so. Hey, Champion Wiggles, welcome to the stream. I am just driving myself a little bonkers. But I'm kind of feeling the flow state. I'm kind of getting it. Thank you for the lurk. I appreciate that, my friend. Okay, add child node. Collision shape 2D. I need it to be a box. Oh, you know what? I should not have moved this yet. There. Rectangle shape. Yeah, that should be fine. All right, let's see. There, I want at least a tiny bit of uniformity with this whole shit. There. Wait, you know what I just realized? Shit. I need to... Oh, wait. There. No, I gotta do this for every one of them individually. Just mask them. Layer them as terrain, but mask them for the player. These boxes need to be bigger. Let's try like that. This is gonna be like one of those weird things. Wait, I can just do Y sword enabled on this whole node. That might actually just work. Okay. It might just be because the player sprite... In fact, that's exactly what it is. If I did that... This thing is... I think it's just because the player sprite that they provided to me is like so wonky. But it certainly has its problems. And also the thing that I never figured out is why my character can only move in diagonals. Like, if I'm using the right stick to the left stick, sorry, to control the character, then, like, yeah, it's not a problem. But, like... It still looks fucking odd, but if I'm using, like, D-pad or keyboard, like, pressing one direction, nothing, but pressing two directions allows me to move diagonally. I don't get it, bro. But it's fine.
If you activate it, you're getting this symbol next to the node. That means you can only move the parent node. So now we are always moving the entire bench as one object. Super handy. That way we can move it, let's say, here. And once again, inside of the game, we are getting another object that we can collide with. There are loads of useful icons at the top. The other one that's super useful is locking it. That way, this node cannot be worked with anymore, which, for example, we really want to do for the background, because this one really isn't supposed to move. Same with the borders, actually, and with the car start positions. None of those should ever really move. Although the bench shouldn't be locked, but it should be grouped. This.
Wait, where's the lock function? Oh, wait, never mind. I see it.
And with the car start positions, none of those should ever really move.
Hi, Lajahari Winter. Welcome to the stream.
Although the bench shouldn't be locked, but it should be grouped. This would be another way to create an object inside of the scene. Once you have that, you can simply duplicate this bench, and then you can create as many benches as you like. Which is also a way to approach it, although if you want to create a lot of objects, this might still not be ideal. For that, we can approach these kind of objects in a different way. Let me add another node 2D, where I want to have a whole bunch of, let's just call it stuff, doesn't really matter what you call it. To this node, I want to add lots of random sprites. I can simply drag them in there, like so. There we have a bin. We can put a box.
Let me test something. No, despite everything, I'm still under. This makes no sense.
Box here.
Alright, whatever.
There. A third box here. Let's say we can put a car in this position and a light here-ish. The specific shape does not matter. I just want to have a whole bunch of sprites inside of the stuff node. And make sure that for this stuff node, you have ordering Y-sort enabled. Now we have a whole bunch of objects. The problem is, inside of the game, we have no collisions whatsoever. For that, we will need a static body 2D. Now what you can do to a static body 2D is add multiple collision shapes, which means I can add a collision shape 2D with a rectangle for now, and let's say this one is just for the car.
Oh.
So I can resize it to something like this. And then
So that
to
is
the
possible.
same static body 2D, I can add another collision shape or collision polygon. Let's say a collision polygon, and then I can draw a rough shape for these objects. So something
I want to check something here real fast because I think I'm having either an epiphany or a brain fart, one of the two. What if I change my dead zone to 0? Okay, you know what? Changing my dead zone to 0 actually fixed it. A tiny bit. But now the animation doesn't stop playing. What about greater than equal to 0? No. Yeah. Wait, crap. It's defaulting to the right. Did I mess up an animation somewhere? That's really weird. Oh, that is very strange. If direction so what if I change this to 0.5? What then? Okay, we can move in straight lines now, and it will stop. But it's still not registering my Y movement. Well, at least a decimal solved my problem. I feel like I'm on a roll with like attempting to fix this. What about else if direction.y is less than 0? I mean, alright. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna be fixing that at all. So, we just move on.
Here, 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 and nearly done, like so. And to refine this a bit, you can have this symbol selected, and then move these points. There we go. Now we have a collision shape, and inside of the game, if I go to this position, we have a collision with a car. That works, and with these boxes as well. And that is working pretty well. The same thing we can then do for these objects and for this object, and you simply go through it step by step. That way, you can very easily add lots of objects with one collision shape, which I think is the best way to approach it when you have a lot of stuff to add to a scene. With that part covered, we can do an exercise. I want you to place a lot of elements, so that by the end of it, you have a proper looking level. Place a whole bunch of static bodies and sprite to these. How you're doing this is entirely up to you. You can create separate scenes or a few nodes inside of the game scene. It really doesn't matter for our game, just choose what you think is best. Pause the video now and see.
Okay, 2 chats to address. Some random fool, welcome back. Loki Trickster, hi, welcome to the stream. If you are wanting an else if statement in Godot, it's elif. Got it, thank you. Then let me try that. Okay, it almost worked. Okay, you know what? It works. Well, it doesn't anymore now. It worked with my D-pad inputs. And it's working with my keyboard inputs. But then when I attempt to move it with my left stick on this controller, it breaks. So I think reactive in nature, as only one can be. It might be for the best if we just delete our joypad axis inputs here. Okay, now moving the moving the left stick, now I don't have anything. But yes. This thing is now working exactly as intended. Loki Trickster, thank you for the tip. I really appreciate that. Okay. So now the exercise is place a bunch of static body elements in the scene. I kind of want to go back. But, first project? No, not really. But This is admittedly the first tutorial that I found in like a year and a half, more like a year, that like actually really helps me understand it. The new Ultimate Introduction to Godot by Clearcode. It's kind of a pared down version of a Udemy course that this guy also hosts, but in this tutorial you learn a lot of the basics of this while also like making 3 ground up projects with provided assets. So after a couple weeks, I'm still on the first part, which is a Frogger style game. Then the rest of it is creating a 2D platformer and a 3D space shooter. And he also has a couple videos where actually I'll just pull up his thing here. He has a video, a 5-hour video on recreating Stardew Valley in Godot. And like 2 things dedicated to one of this is making a Zelda game in Godot, and the other is doing a Zelda style inventory system through a la like Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, Echoes of Wisdom in Godot. Okay, this one is interesting. Hold on, what is Raylib? I am derailing this whole thing because I want to know, what is this? Raylib is a simple and easy to use library to enjoy video game programming. Okay, you downloaded through itch.io. These are just the sponsors. Raylib examples are organized by colors. Interesting. You know what? I'll have to come back to that. But for now...
Here's what you get.
Right. Yeah. I don't have to worry about this because the tree itself is a scene. I'll add a child node, node 2D, do what he did, and call it stuff. So, oh wait, I should probably keep adding sprite 2Ds. Whoops. Yeah, I think this ought to be fine for now. like I was saying, I do want to go back in time a bit. But before I do that, let's keep adding to this scene. Okay, so another sprite 2D. Whoa. Duplicate this, put it here. And this one, I'm actually going to center it out. I admit this isn't going to look pretty when I'm done with it, but if it looks like a functioning map, I really don't care. Okay, another sprite. We're gonna put this signpost. There, that should be alright. I want to do one more. Yeah, that should be good, actually. Okay. I'm having too much fun with myself and with this self-learning thing, with this song on a loop. Although I admit this may be one of the only songs I like from Persona 4 Arena. That's not true, actually. What's that one song from Persona 4 Arena Ultimax? Oh, okay, it's two songs. A Fool or a Clown, which is Adachi's theme, and The Trickster, which is Show's theme. Fun stuff. I did grab that game a while back on Steam, and still haven't started it yet. Maybe one of these days I should. Granted, after I almost completely threw out my right hand doing, like, fast and complicated Ninja Gaiden 4 inputs last night, I may want to hold off on that for a while. Oh, you know what? Totally forgot to do one thing, and that's hide my collider boxes.
Can do to a static body 2D is add multiple collision shapes, which means I can add a collision shape 2D with a rectangle for now, and let's say this one is just for the car. So I can resize it to something like this, and then to the same static body 2D I can add another collision shape or collision polygon. Let's say a collision polygon, and then I can draw
You know what? I see how this works. Because of the color of this asset and the color of the ground, I'm not sure where the asset begins and ends. Jesus Christ. But I think it's okay for now. But before I do literally anything else... wait, where the hell is my collision thing? Here we go. Yeah, we want to set the collision mask for the player with these. Wait, I'm realizing something. No, these need to be shrunk. Yeah, just like that. There. Okay. I don't need to edit those anymore. I'm gonna leave it like that for now. Put it here, put it there. There. That's the power of unparalleled circus concentration. Now let's try colliding into this bullshit. Bonk. God, this grouping, this like Y sorting thing just does not want to work. Wait, you know what? I have an idea. That might work. Then I need to scale the player up. What the hell am I stuck on? Okay, so the thing I'm learning, the shit I just did, don't do that. Okay, we need to scale the player back down again. Alright, let's see. Actually, that's a good question. Where is my collider? That explains everything. God damn it. Okay. God, no wonder it was being crappy. Okay. Oh. Yep. Invisible that. Bonk. Okay, holy shit. That is so much better. Wait, I just realized, do I need to put enable 𝘈𝘊𝘛𝘜𝘈𝘓𝘠 on the player too? Also, player needs to be layer 2. Undo my masking for now. Risky? I don't know about that, SC Jolly. Like, everything is working as intended. The only problem I'm having is, like, the Y sorting just straight up isn't working. Like, I'm still passing under objects when colliding with them from the bottom. Oh, I just realized I think I Control Z'd a little too close to the sun just now. Get rid of this again, this again, this again, this again. Good. So is my dead zone still 0.5? Yes, it is. Right. Is there a center line for the character? What do you mean by center line, SC Jolly? Like, are you talking about like a center axis? Because So if I re-enable this. So yes, there is, it's where you see this like cross-shaped node on the character. This might work again. What's the red line at the feet? Oh, that is like... This is like where the x-axis starts. The red line is the x-axis, the green line is the y-axis. And I'm realizing something. There, I need to recenter this entire... Wait, no. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, that looks relatively alright now.
For a rough shape.
So let's continue with the video finally.
So something.
Oh, I see a problem.
Here, 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 and nearly done. Like so. And to refine this a bit, you can have this symbol selected and then move these points. There we go. Now we have a collision shape, and inside of the game, if I go to this position, we have a collision with the car. That works, and with these boxes as well. And that is working pretty well. The same thing we can then do for these objects and for this object, and you simply go through it step by step. That way, you can very easily add lots of objects with one collision shape, which I think is the best way to approach it when you have a lot of stuff to add to a scene. With that part covered, we can do an exercise. I want you to play...
Let me read chat right now. Try it in the middle. I think that's why the head goes under the objects. No, the head... So... No, it has something to do with a Y sort, which I'm not sure why it's like... Because I'm pretty sure I have Y sort enabled for like everything. I'm gonna need to do that. So for the red car, maybe not. I'll use WASD for this one. Well, it works. But I've also simultaneously fucked myself to the point where, like... Well, I have an idea. Why don't I try it like this? Like, it's not as noticeable on a lot of these other objects. And now it's not nearly as noticeable with the trees. So now, unlike that one game, the trees no longer despise me. But yeah, it is a crapshoot of a situation, but or crapshoot solution to the situation, but if it works.
Place a lot of elements, so that by the end of it, you have a proper looking level. Place a whole bunch of static bodies and sprite 2Ds. How you're doing this is entirely up to you. You can create separate scenes or a few nodes inside of the game scene. It really doesn't matter for our game, just choose what you think is best. Pause the video now and see how far you get.
Yep.
I went ahead and created a whole bunch of objects. Most of those I placed inside of the stuff node, where we now have a ton of sprites, and on top of that, somewhere in there, is a static body 2D, which holds a whole bunch of collision shapes. Inside of the game, all we see though is that we have a ton of collisions with different objects. Let's go here, here. We always have collisions. That is working pretty well. Now obviously to create a level, you have to have some patience and place a ton of elements, which sometimes can simply take a bit of time. Especially doing all of the collision shapes manually can be quite annoying, and later on we are going to learn ways to make this more efficient. But for now, this is the easiest way to create a level. On top of that, for this bit up here, we don't actually need collision shapes, because once the player gets to this bit, the game should be over. I guess one thing that we can do to finish up this part is, at the moment, we don't really get that many cars, which does look a bit weird. To make that work much better, let me minimize borders and objects, and then look at the car timer. At the moment, we are creating one car every 1 second. If I change this to 0.1, then we're getting a lot more cars already. So now, this feels a lot more like a game. This number you...
Wait, I was like not paying attention. Let's go back a bit.
To finish up this part is, at the moment, we don't really get that many cars, which does look a bit weird. To make that work much better, let me minimize borders and objects, and then look at the car timer. At the moment, we are creating one car every 1 second. If I change this to 0.1, then we're getting...
Okay, I changed it to 0.5. You can definitely see the cars, like, coming through. Okay, I need to adjust my collider for the player. Okay, so if I stand right here, the cars will only hurt me if I'm directly within their pathing. So like if I stand right here and a car runs over my face, or like if a car passes through my face, it's not going to be a massive problem. But with my body in this lane, well, I should at least get it as low as the eyes. Yeah, this is good. Yeah, just like that. I never was good at Frogger. But, this kind of works. This kind of works for me, not gonna lie. Okay. So now the thing that I'm hoping he's gonna tell me is, I'm wondering if that collider thing is necessary.
A lot more cars already. So now this feels a lot more like a game. This number you can tweak. I think I went with 0.15 for the actual project. But obviously just test this and see what feels good for your purposes. Also, while looking at this, I think we should vary the cars just a bit more. At the moment, our car is always going to be a taxi. That being said, inside of cars, we have 3 different kinds of cars. And those we want to select randomly. For that, we have to work inside of car.gd. First of all, we have to load these 3 cars into memory.
Can I rename this without breaking anything? I'll just leave it.
That we do. First of all, by creating a variable, let's call it colors. Inside of this variable, I want to store an array that stores the green, red, and yellow car. To load them, we want to preload, and then the name of the file that we want to preload, which in my case is graphics, cars, and green.png first of all. Besides that, and let me write this over multiple lines so it's more readable, I want to duplicate this line by pressing Ctrl, Shift, and D. Besides the green car, I
Control, Shift, and what?
duplicate this line by pressing Ctrl, Shift, and D.
I see. Oh, wait a minute. I see.
Besides the green car, I want to have the red car, and I want to have the yellow car. That way we can use these graphics.
Oh, I need commas.
Inside of the game right away. And effectively what we want to do. Once the scene is ready, I want to get this.
Wait. Thunk ready, void if position.
Sprite 2D, this sprite 2D here, and then update the texture, which I can simply grab via the texture, and then assign one of the images that we are storing inside of this colors array. Now to pick a random value from it, all we need is pick random. That way we are picking one item at random. If I now run the game.
Let's see. If I now run the game. Oh, cool. Wait, the cars are only going in one direction. The green ones for sure. I don't know about the taxi cabs. It might be, though.
We are getting very unlucky, but now this looks much better. We have 3 different cars, and that makes the game feel significantly more interesting. Alright, at this point, we have a basic game where a player can move around, we have static obstacles, we have moving cars, and we can accept player input. However, what we don't have is a way to communicate with the player directly.
Hold on, he had a line of code in his. I wonder if that'll fix mine. Wiggles, welcome back. Oh yeah, that fixed the problem. Beautiful. So now what I want to do... Wait, I wonder if this will work. Speed.pick random. Will that do anything? It is. It actually kind of is. Oh, wait, you know what I'm realizing? Because I set an array for the different types of speed, it's calling a random speed every frame. So I'm seeing like rubber banding as a result. Like if I reload the scene again, like look at how the cars are just like randomly speeding up and slowing down. Although one thing I do want to do, 800, 900. What kind of chaos am I bringing? Yeah, see all the rubber banding happening? Once these babies hit 88 miles an hour, you're going to see some serious shit. Okay. Maybe I need to decrease the timer. I'm going to set that to 0.2. Wait a minute. Instead of setting this to a variable, what if I set it to a constant? Huh. Man, these messages are coming in like crazy. It's like real traffic. I mean, I don't know about that, SC Jolly. I definitely just saw like 2 cars stuck in between each other. And look at that. Some of the motions I'm seeing on the random speed array of these cars. I'll keep it at variable. Position plus equals direction dot speed dot pick random. Generates. Oh, I get why there's parentheses in those. Huh, that's a good question.
From it, all we need is pick
Well,
random.
let's see what he says.
That way we are picking one item at random. If I now run the game, we are getting very unlucky, but now this looks much better. We have 3 different cars, and that makes the game feel significantly more interesting. Alright, at this point we have a basic game, where a player can move around. We have static obstacles, we have moving cars, and we can accept player input. However, what we don't have is a way to communicate with the player directly, via text. That we're going to work on now, where we are creating a timer on top of the window while the game is running, and we're going to create a title screen. So let's talk about creating layouts. Up to this point, we have placed nodes using absolute positioning, which is a fancy way of saying that every node gets an XY position that is independent from the window. That means, back inside of Godot, let me create a new scene, which is just going to be a 2D scene. Inside of this 2D scene, we have the origin point up here. This is position 0 and 0. If I now place any kind of object via a sprite 2D, then this object is going to get a position that we can see inside of transform. We can have some cleaner numbers, let's say 100 pixels and 120 pixels. This number tells us the XY distance from the origin point. This number does not care about the window size, the blue frame we have right here. Or in other words, if I save this scene, let's say inside of the main folder right now, and run it, we have the car here, and if I resize the window, the car doesn't really care. It's always in the same position relative to this top left point, which is fine for 2D nodes. They are supposed to work like that. But layouts work differently. They are placed using relative positions, which in effect means that instead of giving them an XY position, we are placing them 10% from the left side of the window, or 20% from the top of the window. Things like that. That is really important for example, if this is the game window, a UI should always be in the same top left position. For example, for health bar up here or for some indicator in the bottom left. Even if the window becomes smaller, let's say the new window is something like this because it's resized, then the UI should still be down here and maybe scale down a bit, but it shouldn't fundamentally change the position. Let me close the scene that I have just created and delete it entirely, so node2d.tsen we can delete. Instead, I want to create another new scene, which this time is going to be a user interface. Once we have that, we are getting something that looks a little bit different. We are getting a red frame and we're getting green needles around it. I'll talk about those in just a second. If I add a new node to the scene, so far we basically only work with node 2Ds, the blue ones. Now we are going to work with the green ones. Those are control nodes, which you're using entirely for UIs. In there, for example, you have a label that gives you text. You have a panel that is a basic panel that you can style. There's also a texture rectangle, that way you can display an image. We are going to work with these nodes in just a second, although for now, the node that I actually want to work with is called a color rectangle. This one is, well, a rectangle that displays a color. If you look at the inspector, we can select any kind of color in here. Let's go with a reddish value for now, so we can see what's going on. And then we can resize this thing like any Node 2D. That part is fairly straightforward, I think. That being said though, that's not the system you are supposed to be using. Instead, if you look on the right, in the inspector, we have layout, and in there, we get a whole bunch of options. The most important one is the layout.
Instead of going red like he did, I'm gonna go blue.
Mode. There we have position and anchors. If you have position selected, then you can treat this thing basically like a Node 2D, where we can work with transform and give it an XY size, a position, a rotation, and a scale, all of the basic things. This can be useful if you want to display text inside of a game. So for example, later on, inside of the game, we want to display some text, and for that, we do want to use the position, so we can integrate a layout node in a 2D scene. However, purely for the layouts, we want to work with anchors. And for those, we don't really need transform. Instead, we are getting anchor presets, loads of options here, but I want to work with custom. We're getting 3 options: anchor points, anchor offsets, and grow direction. The really important part for now is anchor points. In there, left,
cool.
top, right, and bottom. Via those points, we define the distance from the node to the side of the screen that we are talking about here. Just for an example, let's leave left and top at 0 and 0. But right, we can set to 0.4 and bottom to 0.2.
Wait, what?
Left and top at 0 and 0. But right, we can set to 0.4 and bottom to 0.2. If I then zoom out just a bit, there we can see things better. And now let's talk about it. At the moment, we have this blue rectangle. That is our screen. At the moment, in my case, the screen dimension is 1280 by 720.
Right.
You might have different numbers, it really doesn't matter, because Godot, for layout nodes, changes these numbers to a scale from 0 to 1. So only for the x-axis, from here, here, we are going from 0 to 1.
That's not what's happening in my thing.
Same for the y-axis. we are starting up here with 0, and then we are going all the way down to 1.
Oh
That's
wait,
the
never
bottom
mind. I
order.
get it now.
Because of that, for example, for the right side, when we are defining 0.4, we are talking about 40% of the screen width. At the moment, for the left side, we have to find a value of 0.0. That means the left side of the node is on the left side of the screen. However, for the right side, we have set a value of 0.4. That means the right side of the node gets 40% of the width of the screen. In other words, we have another 60% that the node is not using.
Right.
Afterwards, we get to the end of the screen. The same system we are using for top, where we start on the top of the window, or in other words, the top of the node has a distance of 0 from the top of the screen. But the bottom side is 20% of the screen height from the top
that
of
makes
the
sense.
window. That is how you have to think about layouts. You don't define an XY position, instead you define a distance to the screen borders. Anchor points for that are the most important part. Besides that, the one that I do want to talk about in this bit is anchor offsets. Those are in pixels and they give you an offset. For example, for left, we can add, let's say, 20 pixels, and that way, besides the anchors, we're getting 20 pixels from the left side. Via that, you can also see what the green needles are for. They tell you the anchor points. Besides that, right now for the top, I also want to have 20 pixels. And then I can save the entire scene inside of scenes, and let's call it title.tscn, which should also be the name of the root node. Title.
I'll save this. Title.tscn.
.tscn. If I now run the scene, in the top left, we are getting, which should also be the name of the root node,
That makes sense.
title.tscn, which should also be the name of the root node, title.tscn. If I now run the scene, in the top left, we are getting the node that we have just created, and this thing grows or shrinks with the screen, which can be really handy. That way,
Kinda
if
cool.
your game runs on a really small screen, and if you have a really large screen, then it still works. Even more
That makes
important,
sense to me.
what you can do is place this thing in the bottom right, down here, where, for example, the left side can have a value of 0.7, the top can be 0.6, the right can be 1, and the bottom can be 1. Then we don't need any offsets. And now, if I run the current scene again, I can resize the window, and the node is always going to be in the bottom right, regardless of the window size. And that can be incredibly useful.
Cool.
So I hope the system makes sense. You
Ah, man, I gotta say, this tutorial might be, like, some parts of it may actually be 6 months out of date, 7 months coming up in a couple days. But honestly, like, I love this dude. He is much more succinct and explains things better than the actual fucking documentation on Godot's website. But then again, that's never been anything new. Like, other people are always going to have like a more personable approach, as well as a more understanding method towards like helping someone understand something more than just official documentation ever will. God, that was a class I took in college. Like, one of my required classes, because I studied game design in my undergrad, was technical writing, which was learning how to understand technical babble and technical jargon, and rewrite it in such a way that like other people could understand. Like, that was part of it, but mostly I think what we did was just like we had to learn how to write it first so that we could understand it, and then we had to figure out what to do with or like how to make it coherent. Because I think our final, or one of my finals, no, actually, no, because my final was an actual test, but the final project I had to do for that class was, no, wait, actually, no. Like, my final was just a final exam for that class, and that was just based on the specific teacher I had. Another friend of mine who, like, took it with a different teacher, their final was attempting to interpret and retranslate like a super technologically complicated washing machine instruction manual. Oh, I feel for that man. I really do.
Basically, at least for now, want to work with layout mode anchors, and then for the anchor preset, you want to have custom. That way, you get the anchor points and the anchor offsets. Besides that, if you look at the top, you have this button. Via that, you can set anchor presets. For example, you can place a node right in the middle, in the top left, in the bottom right, or you can make it cover the entire available space. This is usually just a starting position. Once you have clicked on any of those buttons, you can still go to anchor preset and go from the one you have selected to custom, and then change whatever you like. With that covered, let's create the actual title screen that I want to use for the game. For that, first of all, this color rectangle is going to be the background. I have a custom color, 633C65, which is a purple-ish color. After that, I want to add another node, which is going to be a label. If you now look at the inspector, for label, we basically have text, where we can write, let's call this one the car game. Then in the top left, you can see car game. Although the font is really not ideal. It should also be quite a bit larger.
What font is this? This is... This isn't Helvetica, is this Arial? I think it's Arial.
The way we can change that is, inside of the inspector, we have theme and theme override. Basically, you can apply a theme to multiple layout nodes, which we are going to do later. But for this project, we only want to apply custom styling to this particular node, which we can do via theme overrides. We can change, for example, the color and give it a different font color, which I don't want to do. We can also give it a custom font and a custom font size. For the font size, I want to have 140. That way, at the very least, this thing is...
Font size 140. Oh, that's big.
Quite a bit larger. For the font, we will need a font file that I have inside of the folder font.
Found it. Crackman.
In there, we have better VCR and crackman.otf. Crackman.otf is what I want to use, so simply drag and drop it in there. Then we have a much nicer looking font. This
nicer is debatable,
which I can do by going to this symbol up here and then placing it in the center. That way it's right in the center, which is a decent start, but not perfect yet. So to customize that and move this text up just a bit, I want to go to Layout and then change the anchor preset to Custom. That way I can use anchor points and anchor offsets once again.
Okay.
The only thing that I really want to do is inside of anchor offsets, I want to change the bottom. And then move the entire thing up by some amount, let's say -250. If I now test this one scene, then we have a bit of text that is slightly on top of the center. This looks good. Besides that, I want to add another layout node, which is...
No, it's being problematic. The text itself is not resizing. Is his automatically resizing?
say -250. If I now test this one scene, then we have a bit of text that is slightly on top of the center. This looks good. Besides that, I want to add another layout node, which is a...
I don't think I've done anything different though. Unless...
very least, this thing is quite a bit larger. For the font, we will need a font file that I have inside of the folder fonts. In there, we have better VCR and crackman.otf. Crackman.otf is what I want to use, so simply drag and drop it in there. Then we have a much nicer looking font. This I want to center, which I can do by going to this symbol up here and then placing it in the center. That way it's right in the center, which is a decent start, but not perfect yet. So to customize that and move this text up just a bit, I want to go to Layout and then change the anchor preset to Custom. That way I can use anchor points and anchor offsets once again. The only thing that I really want to do is inside of anchor offsets, I want to change the bottom. And then move the entire thing up by some amount, let's say -250. If I now test this one scene, then we have a bit of text that is slightly on top of the center. This looks good. Besides that, I want to add another layout node, which is a texture.
Alright, moving on.
Via that, we can add a picture. I want to go to graphics, then to player, and use playersimple.png. Simply drag it in the texture, and then we have the player. This player should be right in the center of the window, which means anchor presets, center, and then we have the player. That looks good. We can also scale the entire thing. Go to Layout, Transform, and then for the size, we can change this to, let's say, 100 and 100. And then once again, you want to apply the center preset, so it is right in the center. Finally, I want to add another label. This is going to be for the score. For now, let's simply write high score with some kind of number, 1, 2, 3. This once again, I want to have right in the center of the window and then move it down a bit, which we can do by going to Layout, Anchor Presets.
I got this. So Layout, Custom.
Custom, and then anchor points. We want to move the top down by a bit.
Oh, shit. There we
Let's
go.
say something like so. After that, I want to go to theme override, fonts and font sizes.
Okay, so that's what I have to do. Okay, so I gotta push the top down a bit. So then theme override, font size, what's he changing it
For the
to?
font, I want to use fonts and better VCR. Simply drag it in there. Then we have a nicer looking font. And for the font size, let's go with 50. Maybe a bit large. 30 is better, I think. Once again, play
I'll
around
go
and see what you
45.
like. Anyway, with that, we have the basic title screen. That looks good. This is all we need in here for now. Besides that, inside of the game, let me run it. At the top of the window, I want to have a bit of text. And now you do have to be careful. You can add a layout node to a node 2D. Like
Honestly, I thought about doing a indie game, maybe like Vampire Survivors or Vampire Crawlers within the last like 30 minutes of stream, but you know what? I'm actually having fun just like continuing at this, and I think I may be able to finish the I might be able to finish these last 30 these last two things, layouts, transitions, and sound, in the next hour. So I'm gonna keep at it.
our game, for example,
I'm having fun, chat.
I could simply add a label to it with, for now, let's say some text.
Label. I'll come back down to override, fonts.
And then move it to the center top of the screen, like we have done before for the title. The issue is, if I now try to run the game, I can't see it in the top, but if I move up, there we have some text. And this text
I figured
is
that was gonna
entirely
happen.
static, so not great yet. Effectively, we have to tell Godot that this label should be relative to the camera that we have selected, which
I have an idea. Okay, so I may want to... Let's go 48 again. Yeah, it moves with the player. I don't like that at all.
in our case is the camera of the player. The way you are doing that is by adding another node that is called canvas layer. If we add the label to this node as a child and run the game,
Or not, apparently. Some text. Yes! Okay, so at child node, canvas layer.
the game again. Then we have in the top left
Wait, I don't see it. Shit. Oh yeah, that's perfect. Okay, so it definitely doesn't need to be that large. 36 maybe? Yeah, actually, that actually works pretty well. You know, I should look that up. Godot, take one number from an array as a constant. I should know better than to trust this, but excuse me. I wish you would center the character's axis. It's still already centered, 𝘈𝘂𝘈𝘓𝘠𝘈. Hi, Frog Stuff. Welcome to the stream. And I will say, this game that I'm like making is part of this tutorial from Clear Code. The assets were provided to me in the description of the video itself. So I'm just running along the tutorial and attempting to build this. But yeah, thank you. I will keep doing good. Let me just double check this here. Yeah, you know what? I think the cars are coming in a little too fast and a little too hot. .45 actually. Dun, 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 dun. Da, 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 da. Yeah, that's a problem. I don't think it's anything I can really do. I think the, Did I just witness... Hold up. Okay. I just realized the cars are driving over this. Oh, jeez. Okay. So the problem I'm having now is, center the red line on the character. Again, 𝘈𝘂𝘈𝘓𝘂. Like, the red line is already... Well... You used to use Godot a little bit, but then swapped to Game Maker after learning that Undertale and some other games were made in it. Oh, yeah. Like, Undertale is a really good game, to be fair. Yeah, it's not. I will say, like, Undertale is not my favorite game, but I do recognize that for whatever it accomplishes, it is kind of a technical marvel. Wait. That might be fine. There, it's good. Like, I do not need to do anything else to that. Alright, yeah, this should be relatively alright, I think. Yeah, okay.
Left, some text. A bit hard to see. We have to basically redo the anchor preset. Then you can see if I zoom out, we have it up here, which still looks a bit confusing. But if I now run the game again, at the top of the screen, we have some text. That looks pretty good. With that, we can do an exercise.
Okay,
I want you to
exercise time.
customize the label on top of the window, the one for the score. Number one, it should count the time since the start of the game. For that, you can use a timer. Besides that, give it a custom font and an offset from the top of the window. So,
Okay. So I've already got this. So some text, score. So add child node. Actually, let me come under control. Container, base button, text edit, color rect, graph edit, range, separator, item list, label, line edit, menu bar. Huh. Maybe I do want to add a timer.
it looks a bit nicer. If you want to experiment, you can also give it a custom size and a custom color and just see what you can change. Pause the video now and see how far you get.
Okay, let's see. So it should count the time since the start of the game. Huh. Yeah, you know what? I'm stumped.
The most important thing is that this text displays some actually useful information. Or in other words, it should display the elapsed time since the start of the game. The way I approach that is, first of all, I created another timer.
Okay.
That should be the score timer, like so. This one should auto start and have a wait time of 1 second. After that, I want to connect the timeout signal to the game scene. Connect.
Okay, timer signal.
Then inside of the game scene, I want to create another variable for the score, which has to be an integer with a default value of 0, which is what we're getting by default. So score int is totally fine here. Every time the score timer times out, I want to increase the score by 1. When that happens, I want to get the label and change the text of that label. Once again, if you look at the...
Okay. Canvas layer slash label dot text.
Inspector for the label, and you hover over the text or the property you want to change. Then you can see how you approach it inside of GDScript. For label, if you want to change the actual text, you simply want to get label.text and assign a new value. Which has to be a string. Let's say for now, I want to change it to something. If I run the game, after 1 second, some text should become something. And it does. That is working well. That unfortunately means we couldn't assign the score right away, because the score is an integer, while the label wants to have a string. If I run the game now, Godot is going to crash. So this is no good. Luckily, this we can change very easily. You want to wrap the score, so the integer, into the str function. That way Godot is turning the number into a string, after which the entire thing should work just fine. We get 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. This is working pretty well. If you want to be fancy here, you could also do something like the string time elapsed, and then plus the string that we are getting from the score, like so. Make sure you have a...
Okay, cool, it does work. That's kind of funny that you can cheese it in that way.
space in there, and then if you run the whole thing, you're getting time elapsed with the current time. You could do that, although I don't really care about that. I simply want to display the number. I think that's enough. Now,
no, that's not enough for me.
To style this text, I want to go to, first of all, theme override, and then fonts and font sizes. The font should be better VCR, and the font size, let's go with 40. Inside of the game, this should also look okay. And yeah, this works reasonably well. Besides that, for the offset at the
go
top,
away, Microsoft Defender.
I want to go to Layout, Anchor Presets, change it to Custom, and then Anchor Offsets for top should be, let's go with 20. After that, inside of the game, we are getting, I think that looks alright. Finally, the default text should be 0. And to make sure that this 0 is actually centered, we want to set the horizontal alignment to center. That way, we are actually in the center.
Okay, wait, that's a good point. Actually, I think it looks fine as it currently stands. Maybe I want to offset it a couple pixels. Whoopsie. Yeah, this is fine. Now let's go 30. How's that look? Yeah, it juts out just enough in this particular instance now that I think the player would absolutely pay attention to it. Maybe I can push it down like 15 pixels? Oh my god, yeah, that is so much better. Oh boy. Okay, so that works fine. I don't have to worry about that too hard. Methinks. Yeah, no. Shit, though. This works. Okay.
I now run this thing again. We get 0, 1, 2, 3, and this is working pretty well. Perfect. The last major part of the game that we have to work on is the transition between the game and the title screen. Once we have that, we have an actually functioning game. So let's talk about it. We want to transition. Or in other words, we want to change the scene from the game scene to the title screen. This should happen when the player reaches the finish area or when the player gets hit by a car. We also want to be able to go back. If we're on a title screen and the player presses a button, then we're going back to the game. On top of that, we want to keep the score information, which means that the score inside of the game should also be displayed inside of the title screen. For that, we have to talk about global data. But let's go through it step by step. Back inside of Godot, when the player reaches this finish area 2D, we want to load the title screen. And you can see for this area, we already have a function via a signal, which is this one here.
Sorry, I had to answer a DM really quickly.
Let's go through it step by step. Back inside of Godot, when the player reaches
Let's rewind a
this
bit.
finish area 2D, we want to load the title screen. And you can see for this area, we already have a function via a signal, which is...
Okay, under what? So win condition. Okay, so signals. What did he grab on finish?
This one here.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay.
Here. To load another scene inside of GDScript, you only need a single line of code. First of all, you want to get tree. This is a really common operation inside of Godot. The tree is basically the scene tree. This one gives you a ton of options, and to change a scene, you have two methods. Either change scene to file or change scene to path. Scene to file is easier, let's work with that for now. Then as an argument, you need the file path to the scene that you want to load, which in our case is going to be scenes and title.tscn. If you have that, I can run the game and go to the top part. And then we have the title screen.
Alright, then let's do it. Yeah, there it is.
Although, on top of that, the debugger is not happy. First of all, the parameter body is never used inside of this method. That we can fix easily, simply by adding an underscore to body. Then we have an actual red message that Godot does.
Oh, I see. Let me try it like this then. Okay, we're still having a debugger issue. Do I have an on finish? Oh, that's the wrong thing. I wonder, will this do anything? Okay, that didn't work. I don't need no transcripts. Okay, this is being very strange right now. Alright, it should be fine. We'll see. It's still being problematic. This might get rid of half my debugger problems. Yeah. Okay. Okay, grab that. Body shape index? Oh yeah, right here. Whoa. Chad, are we sick of this song yet? Because I'm still not.
Scene to file is easier, let's work with that for now. Then as an argument, you need the file path to the scene that you want to load, which in our case is going to be scenes and title.tscn.
See from SC Jolly,
If
I
you
like
have
it.
that,
Awesome.
I can run the game and go to the top part, and then we have the title screen. Although, on top of that, the debugger is not happy.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, the parameter body is never used inside of this method. That we can fix easily, simply by adding an underscore to body. Then we have an actual red message that Godot does not like. We are removing a collision object node during a physics callback, and this is not allowed and might cause undesired behavior. Effectively, what that means is, inside of the game, we have lots of physics objects, and if you change a scene while the physics are updating, you might get an error. Now, all that really means is that when we are changing the scene, Godot might get stuck on a physics operation, and this we want to avoid. The way you are doing that is, and Godot actually tells you that, you are supposed to use call the third, which is just another function. Call the third. This one calls a function, so we have to add a name here of a function. Let's create a new function called change_scene. This one doesn't exist yet, so func change_scene. Only for parameters, all that we want to do in here is get tree and change scene to file title. TSCN. Simply by having that,
Let's see if that works. Okay, no more debugger. Or no more errors. That's perfect.
can run the game, go to the top, we have the title screen, and Godot doesn't throw an error anymore. This setup can be a bit annoying, but it's really important to get physics right. Most of the time, when you are changing a scene, you want to call the third, then create another function, and inside of that function, you are changing the scene. That way you make sure the physics
Is this Human Frogger? Honestly, yes. That is how the project was described.
objects don't cause problems. Besides that, when the player gets hit by a car, then we also want to go to the title screen. At the moment, we are, for the cars, connecting the body entered signal to the function goToTitle, meaning inside of this function, we want to do something. And well, fundamentally, we simply want to call the third once again, and then change the scene to the title scene. So now, again, and then change the scene.
Let's do this.
To the title scene. So now, if I run the game,
Alright, let's see if that does it. I need a car. There.
and I get hit by a car, we are once again getting back to the title screen. And once again,
Huh,
Godot is
not bad.
complaining that the parameter body is never used. There should be an underscore before body.
Good
Let's
thing
try
I
this
fixed
one
that.
again, and now we can get hit by a car, we get the title screen, and Godot is not complaining anymore. Perfect.
You know, I have an idea. Wait.
This system, we should practice right away. I want you to go from the title screen back to the game. This should happen when the player presses the space button while the title screen is active. Pause the video now and try to implement this one.
Okay. I can think of three things I can possibly do. So I'm going to make another user interface scene, title this Game Over, Uh, okay, and change this color rectangle to black. So now, another user interface. You win. I'm going to change this color to green. A winner is you. Okay, I need to override the size again. Oh yeah, that works. Okay, so to both of these scenes as well, I'm going to add a timer. Auto start. Auto start here as well. Then I need to add a function to this. Maybe connect on timer timeout. Wait, so then what was... Okay, so variable... Variable timer equals int. Okay. Timer plus equals 1. Wait, how did they do it? Variable score. Oh! So then, if timer greater than equals 3, I need to call a scene change function. So then once I do that, call deferred change scene. Okay, so this might... Okay, so on this timer, I also... attach script, game over. Okay. Let me grab this first. Whoops. Rock, come the fuck on. Alright, here we go. Boom. Okay. I've been so focused, I'm hot again. There we go. I turned my fan off, it was getting cold, and now I'm warm, so I'm turning it back on. So then... I need to copy these, paste them there. Actually, I want it to be... Oh, yeah. Oh, wait, no. I don't want it to... I want it to be able to be at 3, and then once it gets to 4, it automatically changes the scene. So then I need to grab the change scene function. I'm off to bed. All right, Jenny, thank you so much for hanging out with me and lurking. I will catch you on the next stream. Have a good rest of your night. And if I don't see you Friday or Sunday, then happy early birthday. I hope it's a good one. Ow. I think I should probably do that. And I should probably do this as well. Save all scenes. Now what I need to do in game yeah, I have an idea here. I'm also going to make a function func change scene loser. Game over. So where... Change scene loser. Change scene winner. I don't think anything is going to break this time. Yeah, okay, perfect. So now what I have to do is test the ending of this. Oops, well, it would be nice if I could playtest my own game. Alright. There. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes. Okay, those work as intended. Now. Right, this title scene doesn't have a script. What's something I can add here? Item list, maybe? This control provides a vertical list of selectable items that may be in a single or in multiple columns, with each item having options for test and an icon. Maybe this? Yeah, I'm stumped. I'll just see what he says.
On the title screen, we want to do something, for which we're going to need GDScript. Create a new GDScript, or the defaults here are fine.
Okay.
I want to constantly check for some keyboard input. That we can do in...
Oh, right, he wanted keyboard input. I have an idea then. Project settings, input map, start game. Nah, actually, I will adjust this to spacebar. I think, now that I think about it, I think I can just delete this function. Okay, so with that in mind, just so I don't break something, I need to go back into script, back into the game. Or no, it's in the player. Okay, so I can get rid of that. All right. Oh wait, no, not a child node. I need a script. Title. Function. Wait.
inside of physics, process, or simply inside of process. It doesn't really matter.
Okay. If action dot is just pressed. Wait, how does that go with the player? Oh, input. Cool, so I can just repurpose this. I think I'm gonna need function change scene. So title. What's the function called? Deferred? Call deferred change scene. Okay. So then now what I need to do is come back into 2D. And add a third label. I should make this smaller. There. Now, press A to start. So anchors. I need, instead of centers, customs. Theme override, font, better VCR. Font size 45. Okay, let's try it. Oh yeah, hold up. Wait, better idea. Let's just go ahead and get run over first. There, game over. So then, car game. Okay, it works. So then the last thing I'm gonna need to do... Well, let me just test this from the winning side. Yeah, okay, so now I need to set what my default scene is. Or set as main scene. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's good. We are gold. Let me just win this one more time. You know, I should move that up a bit. That's much better. Yeah, this is perfect. Cool. So, I got into the flow state of things. I had a good time just like messing around with this. And you know what? I think I'm actually going to leave it here. So I have made significant progress, and the next time I come back to this, I can probably do the sound stuff on my own. But otherwise, I actually have a functioning game in Godot Engine. I never thought I'd see the damn day, but here we fucking are. Oh my god, yes. So I can do the sound stuff on my own just to like kind of get it figured out, but the next time I do game development every Thursday, just FYI, the next time I do this, I will start the next project in this tutorial, which is the platformer. And that's going to be... I've tried to do platformers on my own. It hasn't quite worked out, but I think doing it like this will probably yield something. Maybe, I'm thinking. But that's going to be it, everybody. Thank you all so much for tuning in. If you liked what you saw, please consider liking, following, commenting, subscribing, all that good jazz. Thank you all so much for tuning in my other videos and my shorts. That really means a lot to me. I've got more coming, so keep an eye out for that. Keep an eye out for next Saturday's video. Not going to say what it is, but I got invited to play it and given a key for its early access on Steam, so it's going to be a very interesting time, so we will see how that goes. Either way, tune in tomorrow. Let me double check here. Friday, so tomorrow is Halo 3 ODST collab, and then Sunday is Among Us collab with Champion Wiggles and all of our friends and mutuals. So those are going to be fun times. And with all that being said, thanks for hanging out with me, lurking, vibing, chatting. I greatly appreciate all your time and your company. Thanks for hanging out. Once again, this has been Pause and Effect on Air. I've been your host, CJ. Sorry to have annoyed you with Kuma Kuma Circus, but God, this song is so good. Either way, have a great rest of your night. See you later.